This is big breaking news. Officials are warning people to, quote, shelter in place and to, quote, stay indoors after a massive explosion that could take off the refining capacity of the United States and multiple southwestern states. We could see fuel prices rise, and we could see health effects from this explosion as well too. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see it says explosion at the Navajo refining company. This happened in Artesia, New Mexico. This is in southeastern corner of New Mexico, right near Texas, and a shelter-in-place order has been issued. All right, this is a critical refinery for New Mexico and for getting oil from Texas and refining it. It has refining capacity of over 100,000 barrels per day, and we could see gas prices rise in this part of the country. Right, this is big and concerning. This comes on top of the previous refinery explosion at the El Segundo refinery in Southern California. A Chevron refinery exploded earlier this month. I believe it was October 5th, maybe October 6th, where they had a massive explosion there too. This is the refinery, the Navajo refinery in New Mexico from today, the picture you're seeing right now. But this explosion in California was massive. People could see it from LA, and it's been affecting jet fuel prices in Southern California specifically. Prices have spiked, and in the Southwest and specifically in Southern California too, around 20% of their gas comes from this refinery. So prices have gone up, and we are now seeing another refinery go offline. And something that's very concerning about these two is that something similar has been happening in Russia as well too. They've been having multiple explosions at these refineries, and it's been causing gas prices to go up and gas shortages even in certain areas. You can see here it says that the Artesia police are responding to an explosion at the H.F. Sinclair Navajo refinery. They say the situation is now under control. Earlier in the day today, thick smoke was seen coming from the plant and drifting over parts of the city. Police were urging people to shelter indoors if they were in the path of the smoke and to keep windows and doors closed. Police say the fire has been successfully extinguished by the emergency response team, and that all city and council emergency services have cleared the area. It says the highways and surrounding roads are reported to be open again for travel, though some roads had to be closed off earlier to serve as landing zones. All right, this is a critical refinery too for New Mexico and Texas. And it says here, this is some more information on it. The Eddy County Emergency Manager, Jennifer Armendariz, said, quote, I do know that there were some injuries, but I can't confirm the number. The Eddy County Sheriff Office of Emergency Management had posted on social media earlier Friday for people to avoid the intersection near the refinery since it was being prepared for a landing zone for a medical helicopters. Authorities said the smoke had dissipated by Friday afternoon and roads were reopened. A person who answered the phone on Friday said a manager at H.F. Sinclair Navajo refinery was not immediately available for comments. The refinery sits adjacent to Artesia's main intersection, which serves as an artery for the Permian Basin in the southeastern corner of the state to the rest of New Mexico. Permian Basin's in Texas. It's critical. It's our largest oil reserve in the United States, besides maybe Alaska, but definitely the largest in the continental United States, and it's where the majority of our oil actually comes from. It says the company's website notes that the facility has a crude oil capacity of 100,000 barrels per day, but it wasn't immediately clear how full the plant was at the time of the incident. So the Chevron refinery is still shut down 3 weeks later. The one in southern California, outside of Los Angeles, the El Segundo refinery, it's still shut down. It's been 3 weeks, right? They've been trying to like turn on certain parts of it, and that has a refining capacity of over 300,000 barrels per day. They might have some capacity back online right now, but from the research I can see, as of right now, it's still shut down, most of it, all right? And that could happen here too. This refinery could be shut down for weeks or maybe even months, and they're anticipating months for the El Segundo one, so maybe a whole nother month at least to get it operational again. And the same thing with this New Mexico one too. So if you live in New Mexico or Texas even, and western Texas over here in this corner, then you could potentially see prices increase, right? Just something to be aware of. Maybe even shortages in some areas like Roswell, Carlsbad. Who knows, right? This is a big hit for New Mexico. This is one of their biggest refineries, and they are going to be struggling from this for months, potentially, definitely weeks. It says the plant serves markets in the southwestern United States by processing oil acquired from the Permian Basin, which is one of the busiest in the world. It operates alongside a refining facility in Lovington, about 65 miles away. So if you're in this area, stock up, get some gas. If you have gas cans, gas tanks, maybe fill those up, right? Because we could see major shortages, right? And don't hoard. Don't go fill up 10 gas cans, but maybe fill up 1 or 2 so you have extra. Fill up your tank. Get enough for you just in case you need it, but don't hoard either. And New Mexico is one of these places where you typically have to drive kind of far distances to get places, all right? There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of businesses, all right? You're not finding your staple businesses that you find in every city on the East Coast, and restaurants, things like that. That's typically not in New Mexico. It's only in the big cities, and you have to drive a distance to really get places if you need to like go to Home Depot or something along these lines, or even a Walmart. You typically have to drive, probably an hour at least, maybe longer, to get to these areas, which requires a lot of gas, right? It's typically, 50, 60 miles. It depends on where you're at. Sometimes you're close, sometimes you're even further. Sometimes it's an hour and a half to get to these places, but it uses a lot of gas. That's my point here. So 1 or 2 trips can drain your gas tanks. So have this stuff filled up and be ready. You might have to go out of your normal area to even get gas, right? Hopefully it doesn't get that bad. Hopefully they can get shipments in from other areas, but bare minimum, it's going to increase gas prices in this region. So let me know what you guys think down below. It's concerning to keep seeing these refineries. There's either major problems going on with our infrastructure where it is not updated enough and it's kind of crumbling. It's too old, needs restored, or there's a lack of oversight for these things, okay? Or it could be intentional. All right, let me know what you guys think, because there's a lot of refineries that are connected to Russian gas pipelines that are exploding. A lot of these Russian facilities have been getting hit. There was even reports just coming out that some of them were hit overnight. All right, you can see here it says that Neptune missiles struck Russian energy infrastructure, oil refineries, Ukraine confirms. A lot of these have been done through drone strikes as well too, and that's the most concerning threat, is these drones that are low cost. They are relatively small, and they can kind of just sneak into a place undetected and potentially drop some type of explosive there. All right, you can see here it says Ukraine's Navy confirmed that its forces used domestically produced Neptune cruise missiles to strike major Russian energy facilities overnight on October 31st. The missiles hit the Oriol thermal power plant and the Novobryansk electrical substation. Both facilities supplied power to military industrial plants in the region, and their destruction, quote, dealt a serious blow to the occupiers' logistics. So they are now hitting them with missiles. They've been hitting with drones. Russia's been hitting their critical infrastructure too, but just to see these refineries being specifically targeted, it shows you how critical they are even during a war, right? These refineries are some of the first infrastructure that is going to be targeted potentially if there are attacks on the United States, and there have been these attacks going on behind the scenes, I think, for a while that we just haven't been really paying attention to, right? So let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure you guys are staying safe, staying prepared, staying stocked up, especially if you're in this area of Texas or New Mexico. Have some cans filled up, ready to go. Maybe a generator if you need it, because this even affects the power grid, okay? Power providers, they use oil and natural gas for their generators, okay? A lot of the grid is just run off massive generators, and these generators need fuel, and this is where the fuel comes from for a lot of the power companies, right? So they're either using nuclear, they're using coal, they're using oil, they're using natural gas, solar, wind, okay? They're using one of these things, and some of the biggest ones are oil, diesel, and natural gas, okay? Those are some of the biggest ones. Some of these companies have just massive diesel generators that produce the electricity that you get for your home, okay? So you could even see energy problems or energy costs spike. So just something to be aware of. It's something that's not, you don't really think about firsthand. You think, okay, you might not be able to drive, but long term, if this continues, energy companies might not be able to get and secure the resources that they need for power generation, right? So think about that too. Maybe have some type of gas generator or even a solar generator as well too, and using those two in combination is a good idea as well too. You can have a solar, you can have a few solar panels that will mostly sustain it. They have these like cheap little solar batteries and kits now that aren't that expensive. You know, it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive for what it is and the level of security it gives you, you know. In a situation like that, you have power and your solar can mostly sustain you, and then when the batteries do get low, you can just fire up the generator for an hour or two, barely use any gas, use $1 in gas, and charge up your batteries, okay, and then get back to where you were before. So look into these things, be prepared, be stocked up. Hope you guys have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.